Okay, so week one of the 2023-2024 NFL season is in the books. It's done with. But before we go to week two and we fully turn the page, I do want to look back on week one and go over my predictions and just kind of like what happened in the games. Now, again, I will be honest. I work Sunday, so I'm not able to really watch games. I don't have like Red Zone or like Game Pass is Xbox. Is it NFL Game Pass? Is like NFL something like lets you watch all the games. I don't have that. That's fucking expensive. I wish I did, but it is what it is. So when I talk about a game, I can't be like, I watched it with very few exceptions. Like, this is specifically what happened. These were the major turning points. But I still will check updates every few minutes to be like, all right, what's kind of the pacing of the games at the moment. So for example, with Texans-Ravens, I wasn't watching the game, so I don't know a lot of the specific things, but from checking it, I was like, okay, consistently, this game is a lot closer than I was expecting it to be. Okay, then the third quarter happened, the Ravens took a bigger lead, blah, 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 and then I also look at stats, and of course, stats don't tell the whole story. Stats, there's also sometimes major plays that don't show up on the stat sheet, like someone just getting a major block. I don't think blocked punts even show up on the stat sheet, at least not in the box score. If they do, I don't think I've ever seen them. And if someone gets an interception, you don't see how, where exactly on the field that interception occurred. Now, an interception is always clutch, but how clutch was it? How many return yards did they get off of it? Did they score on that touchdown? Not shit that will always show up when I look at the box sheet, but box score stat sheet. Whoops. Anyways, point. So essentially, what I'm saying is take everything I say with a fucking grain of salt, but it's all I can provide, and it's still something I'm really passionate about and I fucking love. So even if I'm not the most well-informed, which I acknowledge, I still love talking about it. So the first game, our kickoff, was the Lions at the Chiefs. It bothers me immensely that at the end of the game, Mike Tirico was saying this game has an asterisk on it because Chris Jones wasn't suiting up for the Chiefs and Travis Kelce was too injured to play. I don't like that. Now, sometimes I feel like you can say there's an asterisk on a game. If there's real bullshit that happens, a really shitty call or no call, we're yeah, this team would have won the game, but there was a bullshit roughing the passer that was called, and it really shouldn't, and it changed everything. Or it's wow, that was a flagrant defensive hold or pass interference that wasn't called, and this team would have won if it was I feel like that kind of shit, sure. But when it's, hey, one of their guys didn't play because of a contract dispute and another guy is injured, injuries suck, but they do happen. That doesn't make an asterisk. It's you play who you're going to play. And again, Chris Jones, the Chiefs could have taken care of that in-house, and they did it by week one. That's not on the Lions. What I saw from the Lions, what they showed me is heart and guts, which is something we kind of knew from, last year. And I think because I think last year was year 2 of Dan Campbell. So this is year 3 of MCDC. And that's just who he is. I remember when he was the interim coach of the Dolphins, several years ago. Overall, they didn't have a great season. But I think it was the first 2 games under him, they led these blowout wins. And basically, everyone on the team was yeah, I would run through a brick wall for that, man. We love our fucking coach. We want to play so hard for this dude. And even, these last few years, that's what you see in the Lions. They want to be eating off fucking kneecaps for this dude because they love him. In the first year, it was very much the X's and O's and, the game management and time management were what he kind of seemed to struggle with. But I think he got better with it in year 2, and it's one of those things where it's all right, we're only one game into year 3 for him, so I can't be man, he's really got it figured out. Because easily some of those calls he could have made could have horrendously backfired. A fake punt on the second drive of your season inside your own 20. I think it was on like their own 17. If they fuck that up, the Chiefs are about to score at probably at least a field goal. And now you're in a big hole against Kansas City on the road. Easily could have backfired and been fucked up. Instead, they converted, they go down the field, and they score a touchdown. At the end of the game, I believe it was like a 4th and 2, maybe a 4th and 3. Around midfield, you're up a point. If you convert, the game is pretty fucking close to over. If you don't convert, Kansas City has a shorter field to work with, probably only needing about 15 to 20 yards for a manageable field goal. And with Patrick Mahomes, you're assuming he can get that pretty quickly. Like, again, Kelsey and Tyreek Hill aren't here right now, but 13 seconds still happened only a couple years ago. And they go for it, and they don't get it, giving the Chiefs that ample field position, but they're unable to capitalize. So it was a gamble. It didn't work, but it still worked out in their favor, and the Lions won. Now, for the Chiefs, I had picked them to win this game. I had said it's going to be close for 3.5 quarters, and then the Lions are going to make some mistakes, and the Chiefs are going to capitalize, and a close, 7-point game or so is going to end up like a 21-point Chiefs win. The Chiefs didn't even fucking score 21 points. They scored 20. Their defense actually played pretty well. The Lions had 21 points, but the Chiefs only gave up 14 because there was a pick six. Quick pin in that. The Chiefs' offense. I mean, you probably saw the game. If you didn't, this is the Kadarius Toney game. Not because he went out and he balled out in the absence of Travis Kelce. It's because he kept dropping balls. Like, the balls were out of his hands. There was a moment where Patrick Mahomes throws him a ball, hits him right on the hands, and instead of being a catch, it ends up being a pick six because it bounces off his hands, goes into the Lions, runs it back to like 50 yards, touchdown. Now we got a 14-14 game. That's not great. But he also never really seemed to recover. I think he did catch a few, but there are a lot of big drops by Toney. And even on that final drive where the Chiefs are like, cool, like we, again, need like maybe 15, 20 yards. There's a ball, like hits him like kind of like around the arms. Not able to haul it in. Haul in that ball. Chiefs probably walk away with a close win. But he didn't. I mean, like, shoulda, woulda, coulda, but that's what this game is really going to be remembered for. With also a few things of like, yeah, you know, the Lions showed a lot of heart and guts. Am I worried about the Chiefs? No, not yet. They did go ahead and get Chris Jones signed. I don't know how long Kelsey is going to be out. And also, Kadarius Toney wasn't at 100%. It was he's not sure if he'll be able to play, but he wanted to be out there, especially without Kelsey. He'll give Mahomes another target. Ultimately, it did not work out, but I hope that he's now 100% healthy and he can go out and ball out. I mean, I'm not going to do my picks for next week yet. I'm probably going to try to work on that, on my notes today and then talk about it tomorrow. So I'm not 100% if I am picking the Chiefs to win at Jacksonville. Starting 0-2 is not good, but I mean, the Bengals did it last year and they were in the AFC fucking championship. So it's not a complete death knell. But I'm not worried yet. There is time to right the ship. But 0-1 isn't good. 0-2 is a lot worse. But fucking congrats to the Lions. So, from my picks, I'm starting 0-1. But now we get to go on a nice run. So the next one is the Bengals at the Browns, which, like I had said, the Zach Taylor Bengals seem to start slow almost every year, so they're probably going to lose this game. The Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow Bengals tend to not play well against Cleveland. And Burrow I don't know if he's 100%. They're probably going to lose. And what do you know? They lost 24-3. I also did not write the scores down. I really fucking should. Some of these I just remember. A lot of them I'm probably not going to. My mistake. I really should have done that. I'll make sure to do that next week. This is one of those games where I did not watch it. I haven't seen highlights from this game. Kind of what I heard. I don't know how many highlights there are. I think Burrow had 83 yards by the time he was benched because they were down like 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. I know it was like a rainy day. It wasn't great weather-wise. And again, he was injured. He missed all of training camp. But he was just made, like right before the Thursday night kickoff, the highest paid player in NFL history. Like, you can't, like, that's your first game off that contract. That's not good. Now, is that me saying it's like, oh yeah, this contract was, terrible and a waste? Not necessarily. It's just one game, and yeah, I expected them to lose anyway. I expect the Bengals to right the ship and get fine. But as much as I do like Joe Burrow, I'm not someone who's like, dude, he's easily like a top 2-3 quarterback in the league. It feels weird to say because his reputation is like, yeah, he's this great playoff performer. He's this super fucking clutch quarterback. His first year as a starter, he's in the Super Bowl. His second year as a starter, they're in the AFC Championship. This guy is battle-tested. He's got fucking ice in his veins. He's Joe Burr, which I think is a great nickname. But in the playoff games I've seen from Joe Burrow, I think to me the one exception was the Bills game last year. It was like, I feel like he is balling out. It's mostly like, yeah, he's playing fine. Like, there are still some good throws. But I'm not like, man, they're winning this game because of Joe Burrow. And then in the Super Bowl, it's like, yeah, he had like that one long touchdown because, was it T. Higgins? I think it was specifically Higgins, like almost fucking ripped Jalen Ramsey's face off and it wasn't called. And then after that, it's like you've got this lead throughout almost the entire second half and into the fourth quarter and never able to capitalize. Super tight AFC Championship game. Never able to capitalize and like take the lead. Like you're always right there. It was tied, but it felt like there were so many chances in both that championship game and the Super Bowl where it's like, okay, Bengals offense, you got the ball, put your foot on their fucking throats, and it never happened. I feel like his moxie and his leadership, I mean, like, I don't know Joe Burrow. I'm not in the fucking Bengals locker room, so I can't talk about how good he is as a leader. But it just feels like he's got this mystique about him where just the fact that he's there makes the Bengals play harder and, like, almost play better. But, sorry, I just got a text. It looks like someone's going to be here in a bit, so when that happens, I'm probably going to have to call a timeout on the video and do some shit. And hold up. Let me just pause. Okay, sorry about that. Where was I? I was talking about Joe Burrow. I feel like his presence gives the Bengals like a lot of hope. And it's, again, I'm not saying he's like a fucking scrub or anything, but I don't know if that's the guy I would say this needs to be the highest player in NFL history. Definitely deserves a contract. Definitely deserves a good, like really good contract, but I'm just not sure. But I don't expect him to have another game where he only throws like 83 yards. As for the Browns, defense played fantastic. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen the clip with Myles Garrett just basically like dribbling, like he's practicing dribbling before a snap and then immediately like weaves between two dudes and it has like a clean shot at Burrow, which I've seen the clip end immediately after that, so I don't know if he got the sack, but it's like, man, he's literally styling on him. He's not even saying anything, and he is just trash talking this Bengals offensive line. That is hilarious. Also bad for the Bengals. But defense played well. I think Jamar Chase had like 8 targets and I think no catches. I got something like I heard that. I feel like I should fact check that because that doesn't sound right. But also, holy shit, the Browns secondary shut him the fuck down. That's That's a pretty good recipe for winning football games. Again, it's like if you limit the other offense to 3 points and 83 air yards, you're probably going to win some games. I think the season finale of the Saints last year against the Panthers had like 13 yards through the air and the Saints lost because last year was a fucking horror show. But regardless, like this was a game I did pick correctly, so I'm 1-1. Cleveland's 1-0. The Texans at the Ravens. From a pure, again, this is a game I didn't get to see much of. Looking solely at the numbers, CJ Stroud outplayed Lamar Jackson. More completions, more yards, no interceptions. Lamar had less completions, less yards, and threw an interception. It was a game where I thought the Ravens were really going to take over and just like, Lamar Jackson got his massive extension. We believe in Lamar. Oh, hey, Bob. You want to hear me talk about football? The Ravens are out here to dominate. This is supposed to be a lesser opponent. Houston is supposed to be a lesser opponent. Baltimore is supposed to be. This is a Super Bowl contender. Let's go out and prove it. I think the score at halftime was 7-6. Like this is a much tighter game than I thought it was going to be. And I remember looking at Lamar's numbers at one point being like, okay, his numbers through the air don't look great, but surely like his ground numbers, like he's doing a lot there too. Because I know they said like, we want to kind of limit the run game, or it's like we want to focus more on our passing game, but surely Lamar's like tearing him up on the ground, right? Not really. Like he seemed very pedestrian. Again, I didn't get to see it, but from a pure numbers standpoint, a lot more pedestrian than I was expecting. I think they scored 15 points in the third quarter, which is what really kind of put them over the edge, and they still won the game. But I left the game, like I went into the game thinking, okay, let's see how Stroud does. Hopefully he does well. The Texans are probably going to get run over, but maybe they can put up some kind of a fight. Ravens, I'm expecting you to fucking fly all over them. And I left going, the Ravens either aren't nearly as good as I think they are, or DeMeco Ryans is a hell of a fucking coach. It might be a bit of both. I feel like the Texans are going to be a surprisingly tough out every game. Which honestly, say what you will about them last year, but there were quite a few games where even though they didn't win, I think they were like the longest team without a win. They were really close in a lot of them. Didn't they even fucking take the Chiefs to overtime? I think they did. Like, they're going to be a tough out, even if they're not actively winning a whole lot of games. So I feel like they might really be in the right hands with DeMeco Ryans. Ravens, they lost J.K. Dobbins for the season. It was an Achilles, I believe. That just fucking sucks. Like, I feel so bad for this dude. It's this season. I think last year he didn't even get to play in the regular season because he was injured. I don't know what it is with this team where it just seems like injuries are constantly happening. I feel like that's one of the big reasons it took so long to get that contract with Lamar, as he hasn't finished the last few seasons. There are injury concerns. I hope that doesn't happen to him again, but the Ravens did win, but they don't look great. But I mean, it's also week one. That is important to say. A lot of players don't play in the preseason or don't play a whole lot. So it's kind of like the first week or two is almost like an extended preseason. The games still count. There's no asterisks on the 1-0 or 0-1s. There's no 0-1, unfortunately. There were no ties. I love ties. Just because of the fucking weirdness and chaos. I just find them inherently funny. But there's no asterisks with any of that shit. Your record is your record, even if no one's really sure who's good yet, with a couple exceptions like the 49ers. But I am 2-1 at this point with my picks. The next game, the Bucs and the Vikings, which I had said when picking games, I was like, this is my upset. This is the game where I feel like almost everyone is going to be on the Vikings. It's 12 p.m. kickoff, Kirk Cousins, which is when he's usually really good. They're at home. No, they don't have Dalvin Cook, but Justin Jefferson is still an absolute fucking monster, and he was still an absolute monster in this fucking game. The defense isn't great. That was really their Achilles heel last year, but honestly, who the fuck is scared of Baker Mayfield? But I had said, I understand the issues with Baker. I'm not willing to give up on him yet, because like that last season in Cleveland, there were injury concerns. Like, he was playing hurt because he wanted to help his team, and it just didn't work out. And then last year, yeah, he sucked in Carolina. You know who else sucked in Carolina? Every fucking quarterback that suited up for the Panthers that year. It was a shit show. So, like, how much of that was on Baker? How much of that was just on the offense as a whole? I don't know. He went to the Rams. Like, was he great there? No. But there was that really cool, like, game-winning drive against the Raiders where, like, he had only just been there, like, 2 days. Like, okay, that's a really cool story. Like, I want the Bucs to fail because I'm a Saints fan, but I want to see Baker do well. He still has Mike Evans. Who knows how long Mike Evans is going to stay there. But Mike Evans is no scrub. As a Saints fan, I don't like Mike Evans, but he's a damn good football player. Chris Godwin is a really good receiver. That Bucs defense, that is still a tough defense. And what do you know? That tough defense showed up. Cousins throws a pick in the red zone. Like, he was on like the 1 yard line or so. Like, he throws a pick. I think he fumbled a couple times. The Bucs defense was opportunistic because that's who the fuck they are. They're really good at getting takeaways. Baker, again, just like looking at the numbers, seemed to have an efficient game. Threw a couple touchdowns. Mike Evans didn't go over 100 yards, but he still scored. The Bucs did enough to get the win. With the Vikings, I think it was like Kirk threw a pick. I think he fumbled twice. I think he was the one that did it. Kirk Cousins and turnovers. It is a thing that happens. Last year for the Vikings was interesting because they were a team where we're either going to win by the skin of our teeth or we're going to get our teeth kicked the fuck in. They made the playoffs with a negative point differential. That's fucking insane. I don't think they won a blowout game last year. It was either, like I said, we barely win or we get blown out. Which made a lot of people go like, okay, is this a battle tough tested team or are they frauds? And then after they lost the first game to Daniel Jones, it was like, okay, everyone's saying they're frauds. I don't know if I can really comfortably say that. Like, yeah, I mean, if you win 12 games in a season, there must be something good to you. Someone has to lose in the first round of the playoffs. But also, it's like when I think of that, though, I'm like, they weren't super impressive last year. They have an opening loss at home against a Bucs team that, well, I still thought would win. No one really thinks is that good. Vikings might be in trouble. I know I'm not doing my picks right now, but I'm gonna pick the Eagles to beat the Vikings. The Eagles didn't look super great either, I shall talk about, but like, 0-2, again, it's not the death knell. We saw what the Bengals did last year, but it's not good. At least the Vikings wouldn't be 0-2 in the division. That's what it is. But I did pick the Bucs to win, so I am, 3-2? Yeah, 3-2 to this point. Next is the Cardinals and the Commies. Cardinals did a lot better than I thought they would. Of course, like with Sam Howell, this is his first time starting. I didn't know how good he would be. I'm like, I know that Washington defense is going to be tough, and Howell is going to have some really good receivers to throw to, like Johan Doxson, and of course, scary Terry McLaurin. Cardinals did score on defense. They had a lead in the fourth quarter, which I remember following him. I was like, this game's a lot closer than I thought. Oh my God, the Cardinals are winning. No. Are they going to win this game? That would be nuts. Holy shit. Like, the tanking team, the one that everyone's like, this is the team that's going 0-17. Are they going to win week 1? No, they didn't. The Commies still pulled it out. But It was closer than I thought. And there's a part of me that goes like, okay, so is this going to be like the Texans, where I feel like they might not win a lot of games, maybe not any games, but they're still going to be like competitive, they're still going to be tough? Or is it going to be this was the shot. This was the one game they really had a chance to win, and they just couldn't do it? It's going to be sad the rest of the way. I really don't know. But I have a friend who's a Cardinals fan, and like, it was like a few minutes before kickoff, I just texted him, I was like, I'm so sorry. My condolences. And he immediately knew what I was talking about. He's like, dude, it's going to be so bad. We're going 0-17. And then after the game, he was like, yeah, I think this was our one shot. I was so happy that maybe, just maybe, we could go 1-16. But no, we couldn't win. We're going to be dog shit. So that's another win for me. It's a win for Washington. So I'm 4-1 at this point. Yeah, why did I write? Yeah, I don't know why the fuck I have. Oh, that's why. Sorry, I was looking ahead to the next one. I was like, why do I say I have 2 losses? I've only gotten 1 game wrong, because this one I got wrong. Carolina and Atlanta. I had said, I was like, I'm trying to look at the NFL script, and to me, what the script is saying is that the number 1 overall pick in his first start on the road is able to have a pretty close game, but he's able to lead a game-winning drive at the end, and I was half right. The game was close. I think they were down like 10 points by the end of the game, but it was pretty consistently like within 7 or so. But ultimately, he did not lead a game-winning drive. The Falcons did win. This is really a game where I didn't see too much. I don't know how well Young played. I think he threw like a touchdown, which is great, but I think he had 2 picks. It seems from the little bits that I've seen or have read, he didn't look overly impressive, which, to be fair, like I said, no one looked impressive in the Panthers offense last year. It's now a different coach, it's a different system, but it almost kind of to be expected. And again, it's a rookie in his first start. As much as I want to shit on the Falcons, like, they're not a completely scrubbed team. A lot of people seem to like have them in the playoffs, even maybe winning the South outright. I'm clearly not going to go that far at this point. I'm still going to wear my bias on my fucking sleeve, which I'm not at the moment. Like, I wore the shirt Sunday. I need to get it washed. But, yeah, Atlanta won this game. I picked against them. I was wrong. Hopefully next time I pick against Atlanta, I will be correct. But at this point, I am 3-2 with my picks. The next one. Okay, yeah, sorry. 4-2. I skipped over this game. I'm looking at my notes. I skipped over it completely on accident and went to the Cards and the Commies, but Carolina, Atlanta was before that, at least in terms of how I wrote them down. Next game was the Jags and the Colts. So this was the debut of Anthony Richardson, or as Barry McCockney, is that how you pronounce it? As Barry calls him, Big Tony. And I kind of like that nickname. I think I'm going to use that for him. Big Tony threw a touchdown, ran for a touchdown, threw an interception. They were down 10 points near the end of the game. He was still trying to like score. I think there was about like 40 seconds left in the game when he went out. So even if they had scored, you're probably not going to win. There's always a chance of an onside kick. But yeah, I like the heart that he was showing. He's a rookie. He's raw, but I feel like there might really be some good here. Like, I remember going into this thing, I think Big Tony's going to suck. Maybe over time he can develop it. Basically what I was imagining is Josh Allen in his first year, where you're like, this is like, he's a big dude, he's got a rocket arm, he's got a gunslinger mentality, he can run. You're probably not going to win a lot of games year one. You're going to think like, this dude is really raw, he's not that good. But in a couple years or so, you might really have a dog. That's the vibe I get from Anthony Richardson, and I hope I'm right. Now, if he develops a lot sooner, even fucking better. But like, I want this dude to do, like, again, like, I want to root for people, especially if they're not in the division. But I'm pulling for Big Tony. But like, seeing the highlights of this game, it was pretty fun. My favorite play is Trevor Lawrence gets hit from behind and the ball goes forward. And there's no whistle ruled. So the ball is live, but the ball bounces and then a Jags player, I'm not sure who it was, is holding the ball. Then a Colts defender, I think just kind of realizing there hasn't been a whistle blown, runs up and punches the ball out of the dude's hand. And then the Jags receiver kind of gives him this look like, dude, what the fuck? The play is over. Why are you doing that? Then DeForest Buckner, who caused the Lawrence fumble in the first place, picks the ball up and starts running. And then other Jags players are kind of like, oh shit, we should probably stop. And the Colts players give him a convoy. So he goes in and he scores. And it was upheld. Lawrence fumbled the ball. There you go. Game. Or not game, but this was way earlier and the Colts still lost. But they score and they take the lead on that play. And I heard the play described before I'd seen it. It's they scored on a weird double fumble. I was like, a double fumble? I have to see that. I was like, okay, yeah, that's kind of a double fumble. That's fucking amazing. I love it. I don't think it was last year. It was last year or 2 years ago. We had the double punt. Now we have the double fumble. And I'm loving it. I love weird, crazy, insane plays. This was wonderful. Another thing to me that was genuinely wonderful was seeing Calvin Ridley come back his first year of football, or his first game in football, and ball out. Man, had some great catches, scored a touchdown. Trevor Lawrence had some fucking filthy ball placement in this game. It was really fun to watch the highlights. I did have the Jags winning. I thought they'd maybe win by a bit more because I thought the Colts were going to be, with all the offseason shit, I was really expecting this to be a completely dysfunctional unit. They look better than I was expecting. But Jags did still win, so that puts me at 5-2. 49ers, Pittsburgh. So I had said, I'm picking Pittsburgh to win. And the reason I think they win is I think this is one of those weird, ugly, gritty, maybe not even gritty, but just those ugly, weird Steelers games where this should be a really good and fun game, but it's not. It's just weird shit happens. There's a lot of sloppy play, probably a lot of penalties, turnovers, and somehow the Steelers just roll in the mud enough to get a win. Kind of like what happened last year for the 49ers week 1, where they played the Bears in Soldier Field, but that was actually, the weather was so bad. But the Bears won a game. Surprisingly, given that I think they won 2, maybe 3 all year. And I remember even saying after that game, I was like, yeah, the Bears didn't win that game. Soldier Field kind of won that game. But that's what I was expecting. Something really similar. And I'd also said, I don't know how Purdy's going to do. I don't know if this guy is going to look really sharp coming off of that injury, because that's a bad injury. It's on his throwing arm. Last year, he was good, but how much of that was, people didn't have a lot of film on him? Was it kind of like a flash in the pan? Because that shit does happen in the NFL. You can have Jonas Gray scoring 4 touchdowns in a game and then, barely touching a ball ever again. You never know. So I was right that the Steelers would play a really ugly, miserable, terrible game of football. I was wrong thinking the 49ers would fall for it. They destroyed them. And any doubts I have about Purdy, I think I can safely put him to bed. Dude came out. He was firing. He was slinging it. I think he had 2 touchdowns to Ayuk. How many yards did Ayuk have? I want to say he had over 100. I think he had 150 or something. CMC had 150 on the ground. He went off and he had a 66-yarder for a touchdown and then was still carving him up for, what is that, another 90 or so after? Holy crap. I think the score was 20-7 at halftime because the Steelers just barely scored a touchdown. I think they barely had a first down in the first half. 49ers scored 10 more in the second half. Steelers didn't do shit. They looked bad. Now, granted, it is still a Mike Tomlin team. So I expect them to mess around and still have a non-losing record. Granted, the 49ers are a really fucking good team. So it's one of those, it's like, am I worried about the Steelers? No, not yet. I'll put it like this. This is the kind of game, this is the kind of ass whooping that either makes a team go, oh, we suck. There's no hope for us anymore. This was humiliating, this was embarrassing, and it's not going to get better. Or it's the kind of ass whooping that makes them go, we suck. This is embarrassing, this is humiliating, and we're never letting this happen again. Especially not on our home turf. Fuck the 49ers. Fuck who we're playing next week, which I think they're playing Cleveland next week. I think that's one of the Monday night games. And I'm expecting a really angry Pittsburgh team next week to make up for whatever the fuck this was. The 49ers look good. They look really good. So at this point, I am now 5-3. After that, it's the Titans at the Saints, where the Saints won 16-15, where this was a game I heavily followed, as you can probably imagine. It's a game where on the one hand I go, the defense is doing what they need to do. They only gave up 15 points. That's 5 field goals. They did not give up a touchdown. I love that. I love seeing my defense give up 0 touchdowns. I love my defense getting, I think it was 3 sacks. Would have loved more, but we take those. I love my defense getting 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions, made Tannehill look like a fucking bum. Love to see it. I mean, granted, I think a lot of people do think that Tannehill is a bum, but our defense fucking went off. Offense could have looked better. That was only week 1. There's a lot of time left. We only scored 1 touchdown. It's not great. Had a good drive going at the end of the game. At the end of the first half. Carr throws a really bad ball that's intercepted. Don't like that. Could have given us more breathing room. First play of the game, Rashid Shaheed, which I love that dude. I love just seeing a dude who's like, my thing is I am the fastest dude on the field, so throw it deep. It's awesome. Fumbles on the return, so Titans set up shop and kick their first field goal. So really, when I look at it, it's like, I feel like the defense essentially gave up 4 field goals. It's not, like, that's really nice. But, like, that one was caused by the offense. Jamal Williams at the end of the game fumbled the ball. He recovered it, but it went from like a, we now win the game to holy fuck, holy fuck, holy fuck. Okay, we won the game, but of course it's not a Saints game without some holy fuck shenanigans. Titans have a legitimate beef, though. Because that Carr incompletion really might have been a fumble. And Byard really probably about to return it about 90 yards for a touchdown. And I'm like, it's better to be lucky than good. But I'd rather not have to be. It's the kind of game that overall makes me go, the defense looks great. Hopefully the offense can get it together. Like, hopefully the offense not looking great throughout the game or like not being able to score a lot is because the Titans have a really good defense and not because we suck. I'm really hoping it's because the Titans have a good defense. But I remember week 1 last year where it was throughout the game, the Saints just aren't looking good on offense. The Falcons defense is just fucking running through us. It's kind of miserable. And then in the fourth quarter, everything clicks. The defense is not letting the Falcons do shit. The offense, Jameis is just slinging it all across the field. Michael Thomas scores. Michael Thomas scores again. We get two-point conversions. Will Lutz drills a 50-plus yard field goal to take the lead. And then the defense is able to force the Falcons into a super long kick, which I think they fucking blocked. And you are left with this feeling of, even at our worst, we can't be beat. We played like shit most of the game, and we still came back and showed our rivals why they're the basement dwellers of the division. Hell yeah. This is a game where I look and go, we won? I don't feel satisfied. I feel relieved. That's it. It's I feel more relieved than I feel satisfied or that I feel excited. It's I feel... It's not I feel dirty celebrating it, although, again, that really probably should have been a Titans touchdown. Which, at the end of the game, now maybe we still win, because we had the ball, right on the red zone. Maybe we score. But the Saints' red zone offense hadn't really been good that game, or last year, and I really like Derek Carr, but he's never really been the best in the red zone either. Well, I still have optimism. But after one game, it went from blind optimism 17-0 to okay, let's be honest. I don't know if we looked great, but we did win, and I'll take it. So I'm 6-3 at this point. The Raiders at the Broncos. So Derek Carr's old team playing against the Saints' old coach, where the Saints' former kicker misses a long field goal, which is very, for him, I know that's makeable, but it's a 55-yarder. I'm not going to shit on anyone for missing a 55-yarder. But also misses an extra point, which causes the Broncos to only score 16 points, which is the same amount that the Saints scored. But they lost by 1 point, like how the Saints won by 1 point. It's this kind of weird, and again, that's not conspiracy shit, but that's just kind of weird how that happened. But I do remember thinking, I was okay, it's in Denver, so Will Lutz is going to be able to probably kick field goals from 70 fucking yards. Well, that didn't happen. It's all right, Sean Payton is going to get in there. He's going to make Russell Wilson fucking go off. And they're going to have a fantastic game. That didn't happen. I thought the Raiders, Jimmy G is fine, but he's not great. And they're probably not going to look that good. It seemed like they looked fine. And I didn't get to see highlights. This is a game I wasn't super following because instead I was following another afternoon game. You probably know which one I'm talking about. But I was they're losing. They lost? Fuck, Denver. I thought this was going to be a good game for you guys. I kind of had you as a dark horse, maybe playoff team. No pun intended. But a potential dark horse playoff team. Maybe not. I really don't have much to say about it, but now I'm 6-4. Thanks, Denver. Eagles-Patriots. I actually got to watch a bit of this game, mostly the fourth quarter. Following it early on, I was okay, Eagles are up 16-0. It's kind of what I'm expecting. I am expecting Philly to dominate. They have a fantastic O-line. They have a fantastic defense. They have a fantastic quarterback. They have fantastic receivers. They should be feasting. Then they just kicked field goals the rest of the game. What was the final score? I know it was I want to say it was 25-20? 16, 19, 22, 25. Yeah, so it was 25-20. So there's 3 field goals the rest of the game. There was this great throw to A.J. Brown deep on the sideline, but it didn't count. I really didn't get to see much of the Eagles' offense. But it seemed like they would move the ball, stop, and then have to settle for Elliott field goals, which, he made all his kicks. As far as I know, he made all his kicks. I think he did. watching the Patriots was weird because it was like it's offensively, like they're kind of moving the ball, but they don't really look that good or that threatening. But they almost won. Like there was this, like the play I remember seeing was a I believe it was 4th and 8 around like the Eagles 40 or so, where they were down, I think they were down 11 at this point. And Hunter Henry with like a magnificent, like reaches out, barely snags the ball, one-handed grab. Like it was amazing. And then like they're down now at like the Eagles 15 after a few plays. Go for it on like 4th and 3, unable to convert. If they had kicked the field goal there, and then it's like not long later, they score. And they cut it down like after a failed 2-point conversion. It goes from a 3-point game to a 5-point game. Eagles get the ball back, fumble. It was like, I think it was like Jalen Hurts got popped. Like it was a clean hit, and like he looked completely fine after. But it's like, damn, like that was a big hit. He fumbled. Pats are setting up shop again. You're like, if they kicked that field goal earlier, instead of being down 5, they'd be down 2. And it seemed maybe a little too early in the game to like really be needing to chase those points. Like I probably would have kicked a field goal in that situation if I'm being honest. It really would have helped. They actually made the 2-point conversion. Like Mac Jones runs it in, but then it gets called back on a hold, and then they're not able to convert. It's like, yeah, those extra 2 points there would have been really good. And then it was like was it 4th and 10? It was 4th and something. Mac Jones completes a ball to the sideline, but his receiver, I don't remember who the receiver was, just barely didn't get his second foot down. So the game was over because they couldn't go for a field goal because they were down 5 because they didn't get the conversion barely. They didn't kick that field goal earlier. And I went into the game thinking, like, I want the Patriots to show life. And they did. They definitely did. But I was expecting the Eagles to dominate this game. And instead, they escaped. Which happens. Like, it's a pretty normal thing to happen in the NFL. Like, sometimes a team comes back. Sometimes you just kind of get off to a really strong start. The other team settles in and they're a bit more even. But I remember this happening to them a few times last year. Like, I remember the Lions game where, like, it was this absolute fucking shootout. And the Eagles won. But it was a lot closer than I thought it would be. I think the Lions were like mounting a big comeback and they almost pulled it off. There was, it definitely didn't happen against the Giants. It definitely didn't happen against the 49ers. I feel like in at least one of the Cowboys games, I know they lost one of them, which also Jalen Hurts didn't play, so that's kind of its own situation though. I don't remember how many other times it happened, but the big one I think of is the Super Bowl. The Eagles just felt like they were in control the first half, but the scoreboard said otherwise. Like, it was a lot. I don't remember if it was tied. I think they were up 3 or... It was anywhere... Was it 10? It was like 24-10 or some shit. It was close enough that you're like, the Chiefs can definitely still come back. This should not be this close. And a big chunk of it was the Jalen Hurts fumble return for a touchdown. I'm not going to say that Jalen Hurts is like a fumbling issue, but that's 2 games in a row where he had a big fumble that really helped the other team. Patriots couldn't capitalize the way the Chiefs did, clearly. I don't know if the Eagles are the kind of team that really plays with their food necessarily, but they need that killer instinct. There were definitely games last year where they showed it. The Giants in the playoffs. That Vikings game like week 2. They can dominate people. That's the Philly that I need to see going forward. I still think they're a fantastic team. Like I said, I'm not officially doing my picks for next week yet. I'm picking them to beat the Vikings. But I need to see that more of that, and I really hope for their sake I see it next week. but I did still pick them to win, and they did, so I'm 7-5. Or excuse me, I'm 7-4. About to be 7-5 because I thought Seattle would beat the Rams. Now, I remember saying that. I was like, I'm kind of back and forth on this one. Because I know the Rams weren't very good last year, but they also had a lot of injuries. But I think they're going to come back from that. I think they're going to be stronger. I'm still going to pick Seattle to win at home. But I think this will be a good game. And it was for like a half. And then Seattle never scored in the second half. And the Rams, I don't remember the name. I don't want to say what I think the guy's name is because I don't want to make it sound like I'm trying to make fun of him. But the Rams had like a rookie receiver who had like 10 catches, 100-something yards, I think a touchdown. He had a fucking day. I think they had another rookie receiver who just went off. Stafford was slinging it. It didn't matter that Cooper Kupp wasn't out there. I've seen the play where Aaron Donald is running at full speed toward Geno Smith, unblocked. He goes, oh my God, it just throws the ball, which I don't blame him. If Aaron Donald was looking at me with murder in his eyes and barreling toward me, I would get rid of that football immediately. Oh, or I would be too scared to move and would just freeze and then get killed instantly. Holy shit. Like I said, I went back and forth. I did ultimately pick Seattle, so this is my L. 100%, 7-5. I'm a Saints fan. I fucking hate the Rams, but congrats to them on being back, at least for one game. I think they play San Francisco next week. You know, the team that Sean McVay can almost never seem to beat until he needed to in the NFC Championship, but we'll see if history repeats itself. Dolphins-Chargers. So like I was saying, I didn't give a shit about Raiders-Broncos. There was another game. It was like, I'm not able to watch it, unfortunately, because I didn't have the channel. It was like, this is the game I want to follow. What the hell is going on here? And you know I've seen the highlights. Tua damn near had 500 yards. It was like 466, 468 through the air. Holy shit. Tyreek Hill had 200 plus yards. Man said, I want to get 2,000 yards this season. You're on pace, buddy. Like, holy fuck. Jalen Waddle, I don't remember how many yards Jalen Waddle had. He didn't have a 100-yard day, but I think he was close, like either 80-something or 90-something. Because that is an insane receiving core right there. Holy shit. The Chargers had, I think Eckler had like 117 on the ground, and their other guy, I think his name was Kelly, had 97. So they had over 200 yards on the ground, damn near 2 100-yard rushers. And an absolute just shootout. 36-34. Each of these teams alone scored more than the Titans and Saints combined at 31. The Broncos Raiders scored 33 together. So that's another game that each of those two teams individually scored more than. This was a fun game if you love offense, and you probably do. But the Chargers gave up damn near 500 yards of passing. That's fucking bad. That is abysmal. Especially, I get it, today's NFL, you're going to get a lot of yards, a lot of passing. That's bad. The Dolphins gave up over 200 yards rushing. That's fucking bad. Now, the Dolphins defense buckled up when they needed to. Like, it's one of those games where, like, whoever has the ball last is going to win. Chargers had the ball last, and they couldn't do shit on that last drive. The Dolphins defense went for it. There's also, because I have seen the play where the Dolphins have 9 seconds left with the ball and are able to get a field goal because J.C. Jackson makes a really dumb play where he heavily interfered with a guy where even if the guy had caught it and then he just tackled him, was well short of the end zone on a Hail Mary and time was expired. It's like, you didn't need to do that. The Dolphins won by 2. You don't do that. you probably win the game, bucko. That was not good. The Chargers defense, though, were able to... I think they got like a fumble on the first drive. I think Tua did throw an interception. I might be wrong about that. Because I know Herbert didn't throw a pick. I don't remember if he fumbled or not. I feel like the Chargers maybe had one turnover. Maybe they played a clean game. Dolphins had a couple. But it's one of those games where, like, I love it because of all the offense, but I'm also like, how much of this was good offense and how much of this was bad defense? So I'm not sure how excited and worried I should be for both of these teams. But I did pick the Dolphins to win. So I'm what now? 8-5? 8-5. Packers-Bears. I was actually able to see a little bit of this game because I did have it. Like, I remember going to the channel and being like, Packers-Bears. I don't care. I really wish I was watching this Dolphins-Chargers game. Let me turn it on. So the first thing I see is Jordan Love fumble a snap, pick it up, run around a little bit, throw it deep. He's got a dude wide open who catches the ball, stumbles backwards, and if he had kept his balance, he would have scored. But that didn't matter because on the next play, he throws a touchdown in the corner, and the Packers are up like 3 scores. I'm like, huh. You know, I remember when I was talking about this game, I was like, I had the Bears written down to win, and I was like, I don't know, though. I'm starting to lean toward the Packers, and I ultimately did pick the Packers, and I'm fucking glad I did, because... itchy nose. I'm really glad I did, because the Packers did what they do. They own the fucking Chicago Bears. It is not just Aaron Rodgers. It's just the Green Bay Packers. Now it's only one game, so we will see if it is a... Did Love just have a really good game, or is it a no? They went from Favre to Rodgers to Love. The Bears are fucked forever. We'll see. You know, the part of me that's like, I feel for Bears fans. I hope the Packers didn't strike gold thrice in a row. The other part of me is like, how fucking funny would it be if they did? Like, that's crazy. I really didn't get to see much of the Bears themselves. Like, I saw their defense getting picked apart. Because I even remember, I was like, yeah, like, their defense is going to be able to do some shit. I can't name a single player on the Bears defense. That's not a good sign. And turns out it wasn't. I mean, hopefully Justin Fields can really be their guy. They got a lot of draft capital to keep him. Or, like, to not draft his replacement. They got some shit. They got him DJ Moore, who didn't do shit first game. Shout out Jair Alexander. It is what it is. That's, I think, 9-5 at this point. 9-5. Dallas and New York. Let me read my notes in their entirety for this game. Quote, bruh. Just bruh. End quote. 10-5. But going into some actual detail. The Giants' first possession of the game ends in a field goal attempt, which is blocked and returned for a touchdown. The first Sunday night game of the year had a fucking kick 6. And I am elated. Like I've said, I love that kind of shit. I love those weird chaos plays, provided they don't happen to my team, of course. Fuck the Minnesota Miracle. It's a wonderful play. It's an incredible play. I despise it. This kick 6 was pretty fucking cool. And that alone would have been the difference in the game. Dallas won 40-0. I remember at one point, because this is a game where I only got to see like bits and pieces here and there. And then as the game was getting away, I was like, okay, the game is on, but I'm not really watching it anymore. I remember a point where the Giants, after they're down like massively, this is sometime in the third or fourth quarter, it's like, okay, maybe they get something on the board, salvage their pride, maybe spark that comeback. Guy gets the ball, he's downfield, he's running, like, okay, they're getting some yards, might get something good, and he fumbles. And I think Tirico even calling it, he's like, and he fumbled. Of course he did. That's just kind of the night the Giants are having. Like, it really fucking is. Jones throws a pick six, which is like, I think it was very similar to the Kadarius Toney one, where it either like hit Barkley on the hands and bounced out, or Barkley caught it, but then it was knocked out of his hands. I didn't actually see the play. And then it gets returned. Like, it's a pick six. It's not really Jones's fault on that one, but the Giants got embarrassed. I know a lot of people are like, dude, the Steelers had the worst loss. People said the Bears had the worst loss. Other people were like, the Giants have the worst loss. It's kind of hard to pick between the three of them. But they're not the only contender for that. So let's get to the last game, which I did get wrong because I picked the Bills to win. So I finished 10-6 for week 1. That's pretty good. Could have been better. Definitely could have been worse, but that's about a playoff record in a 16-game season. I will take that. But the last game, 4 snaps into his Jets career, Aaron Rodgers tears his fucking Achilles. That sucks to see. I am not a huge fan of Aaron Rodgers, but that does not mean I wish ill upon him. I sincerely hope he is able to rehab and get better. He's out for the year. He might be done. He had said in the offseason, he's like, I'm heavily considering retirement, but then I felt like the Packers were disrespecting me, so I said, fuck it, I want to play, and if you don't want me here, send me to the Jets. My sincere hope is he is able to rehab, he is able to heal. I doubt he would be able to come back for the playoffs if the Jets manage to make it, or if they go on a deep playoff run. Like, could he, if the Jets made it to the Super Bowl, could he play in the Super Bowl? I don't know. I don't think so. But what a fucking story that would be. But my sincere hope is that he is able to be back next year and at least be able to play a full year with the Jets. Regardless of what happens, if they suck, if they win the whole thing, or if they have kind of a whatever year, he's at least able to play one and go out on his own terms. Because for a great player like this, because regardless of what you think of Aaron Rodgers, he's a phenomenal fucking quarterback. I want to see him go out on his own terms, actually play a full season, and then say, okay, I'm calling it after this. Because no one wants this, unless you're an asshole. But on to the game itself, which, I mean, that was part of the game. This game felt gift-wrapped for the Bills to win. Aaron Rodgers is basically not playing the entire game. Zach Wilson is still Zach Wilson. His one touchdown of the game was basically thrown to the defender, to which Garret Wilson knocked the ball away from the defender and then extended to catch it and somehow corralled it. Phenomenal catch. Like, holy shit, that was awesome. Zach Wilson did have a few good throws, but you're not scared of Zach Wilson. The running backs, though, like Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall, they fucking went off. The offensive line, they were not good. They're really not good. And you look at that and you're like, man, the Jets' offense is pretty terrible. It feels like all the Bills have to do is not fuck up. Now, the Jets have a great defense. We saw that last year. But the Bills have a really good offense and a solid defense of their own. If their defense doesn't do anything stupid and the offense doesn't do anything stupid, they take care of the ball, make their way down the field, and like score once or twice, this should be fine. So, Josh Allen had 3 completions to Jordan Whitehead. 2 of them were like deep fucking shots around the Jets' like 1 yard line or like in their end zone. Unfortunately for Josh Allen, Jordan Whitehead does not play for the Bills. He plays for the Jets. I actually think he had more completions. Excuse me. I think Whitehead had more receptions than some of the Jets' own receivers. That's great for the Jets. Well, okay, it's not good for the Jets that a fucking corner has more catches than some of your receiving core, but it's worse for the Bills. Allen also had a fumble deep in his own territory that gave the Jets a go-ahead field goal with only a few minutes left. This might be overreaction. It's overreaction Tuesday. I'm wondering if I need to be worried about Josh Allen. No, like I was kind of saying